When news first broke that Prince Charles had proposed to Camilla Parker Bowles in 2005, the world reacted with a mixture of curiosity, fascination, and, for some, lingering controversy. Their relationship had long been one of the most talked about and scrutinized in modern royal history. For decades, it existed in the shadow of public opinion, shaped by the complex events surrounding Charles's first marriage to Princess Diana. So when the couple finally announced their engagement after years of speculation, many people expected headlines. But what truly captured attention was not only the engagement itself, it was a ring. The engagement ring presented Camilla immediately sparked discussion across the United Kingdom and beyond. Unlike the modern diamond rings often chosen for royal engagements, this particular ring carried a powerful historical significance. The piece featured a striking central diamond surrounded by smaller stones in a classic Art Deco design. What made it remarkable, however, was its origin. The ring had once belonged to Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, making it a treasured piece of royal jewelry with decades of royal heritage behind it. For royal watchers and historians, the decision to present this specific ring raised several questions. Royal jewelry often carries deep symbolic meaning, representing lineage, legacy, and continuity within the monarchy. By choosing a ring connected to the Queen Mother, Charles was linking Camilla not only to himself but to the broader legacy of the British royal family. Some saw this as a deliberate effort to reinforce Camilla's place within the institution, signaling that she was being welcomed into the royal tradition despite years of public skepticism. Yet the symbolism also stirred debate. The relationship between Charles and Camilla had long been intertwined with the tragic story of Princess Diana, whose life and legacy remained deeply emotional for many people around the world. Diana's engagement ring, now famously worn by Catherine, Princess of Wales, had become one of the most recognizable pieces of jewelry in modern history. Because of that, comparisons between the two rings were inevitable. Commentators, journalists, and royal enthusiasts analyzed every detail, from the style and origin of Camilla's ring to the message it might send about the royal family's evolving narratives. Some observers interpreted the choice of the Queen Mother's ring as a strategic gesture. The Queen Mother had been one of the most beloved figures in British royal history, known for her resilience during wartime and her unwavering dedication to the monarchy. Associating Camilla with a piece of jewelry from such a respected figure may have been intended to soften public perception and connect her with a legacy of loyalty and service. In this sense, the ring symbolized more than romance. It represented an attempt to bridge the past with the future. The engagement itself also marked a turning point in the long and complicated relationship between Charles and Camilla. Their connection dated back to the early 1970s, long before Charles married Diana. Although circumstances and royal expectations led them down separate paths at first, their bond remained a persistent presence throughout the decades. By the time their engagement was finally announced in 2005, the couple had already endured years of media scrutiny, public debate, and personal challenges. Within the royal household, the engagement signaled a moment of acceptance that had once seemed impossible. Queen Elizabeth II had gradually acknowledged Camilla's role in Charles's life, and the royal family appeared ready to move forward. The engagement ring thus became a visible symbol of that transition. While it may have raised eyebrows initially, it also represented a step towards stability within the monarchy during a time when public trust had been tested. From a design perspective, the ring itself reflected a timeless elegance that stood apart from many contemporary engagement styles. The Art Deco influence gave it a sense of vintage sophistication, echoing the era in which the Queen Mother had first worn it. Royal jewelers and historians often pointed out that such heirloom pieces are rarely chosen lightly. Each item carries a story, a lineage, and a sense of continuity that links generations of the royal family together. For Camilla, wearing the ring meant stepping into a role that had once seemed unimaginable. Her journey into the royal spotlight had been anything but traditional. Over time, however, she gradually reshaped her public image through charity work, quiet dedication, and a willingness to support Charles in his royal duties. While early reactions to their relationship had been mixed, public opinion slowly began to soften as people observed a commitment to service and stability. Years later, the significance of that engagement ring would be viewed through a different lens. What once raised eyebrows eventually became part of the broader story of how the monarchy adapted to changing times. Charles would eventually ascend the throne as King Charles III, and Camilla would take on the role of queen. The ring that once sparked debate came to symbolize not controversy, but continuity, an artifact linking past generations of royalty with the present that in retrospect. The fascination surrounding Camilla's engagement ring reveals how deeply symbolism matters within royal traditions. Jewelry in the monarchy is rarely just decorative. It serves as a visual language through which history, relationships, and public perception are expressed. The ring given to Camilla carried echoes of the past while marking the beginning of a new chapter in royal history. What began as a detail that caught the attention of curious observers ultimately became part of a much larger narrative. It told a story about legacy, acceptance, and the gradual evolution of one of the world's most famous royal families. And in the end, the ring that once raised eyebrows now stands as a reminder that even within centuries-old traditions, change is always possible. Today, as the news of the engagement spread across the world, the public fascination with Prince Charles and Camilla Parker Bowles only continued to grow. For decades, their relationship had existed under intense scrutiny, and the engagement announcement in 2005 marked a turning point in how their story would be remembered. Yet while the royal family presented the moment as a joyful step forward, many observers were still reflecting on the complicated history that had brought the couple to this point. In that context, even something as seemingly simple as an engagement ring became a subject of national conversation. The ring itself carried the quiet weight of royal history. Having once belonged to Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, it represented more than just a beautiful piece of jewelry. The Queen Mother had been one of the most admired figures within the British monarchy, especially remembered for her calm leadership and encouragement during the difficult years of the Second World War. Because of this legacy, anything associated with her name carried a deep sense of reverence within royal circles. By presenting Camilla with a ring from that collection, Charles appeared to be connecting his future wife with a respected figure from the monarchy's past. For some royal watchers, that connection was deeply meaningful. They believed it demonstrated a level of approval from the royal household, particularly because heirloom jewelry is rarely shared without careful consideration. Royal engagement rings often carry stories that stretch back through generations, symbolizing continuity and the preservation of tradition. In this sense, the ring may have been intended as a quiet signal that Camilla was being fully welcomed into the royal family's history and responsibilities. But not everyone interpreted the gesture the same way. For many members of the public, memories of Princess Diana remained incredibly vivid. Diana had captured the hearts of millions during her lifetime, and her legacy continued to influence how people viewed every development within the royal family. Because of that emotional connection, comparisons between Diana and Camilla were almost unavoidable. The choice of ring, therefore, became another element in a broader conversation about the monarchy's past, present, and future. Interestingly, the symbolism of royal jewelry had already played a role in another major engagement years later. When Prince William proposed to Catherine, Princess of Wales, in 2010, he presented her with a famous sapphire ring that had once belonged to Diana. That decision instantly captured public attention and was widely interpreted as a tribute to William's mother. The moment highlighted how engagement rings within the royal family often carry emotional and historical significance far beyond their appearance. In contrast, Camilla's ring symbolized a different kind of connection, one tied not to romantic nostalgia but to the deeper roots of royal tradition. The Queen Mother's jewelry represented a link to a generation that had guided the monarchy through war, political change, and shifting public expectations. By wearing that ring, Camilla was stepping into a lineage that emphasized resilience and dedication to duty. Over time, public perception of Camilla gradually evolved. In the early years following the engagement, reactions were still mixed, and media coverage frequently revisited the controversies that had surrounded Charles and Camilla during the 1990s. Yet as the years passed, Camilla quietly focused on charitable work and supporting Charles in his royal responsibilities. She became involved in causes related to literacy, domestic violence awareness, and animal welfare, building a reputation for thoughtful advocacy. As the couple continued appearing together at public events, many people began to see a partnership defined by stability and shared purpose. While the memory of past controversies never completely disappeared, the narrative surrounding Camilla slowly shifted. She was no longer viewed solely through the lens of the past, but increasingly recognized the role she played in supporting the monarchy's modern responsibilities. The engagement ring, once a subject of intense curiosity, gradually faded into the background of everyday royal life. Yet it remained an enduring symbol of that moment when Charles and Camilla formally committed to a future together despite years of challenges and public debate. Every time the ring appeared in photographs from royal events, It quietly reminded observers of the complex journey that had brought them there years later. The significance of that engagement will become even clearer when Charles eventually ascended the throne as King Charles III. Camilla's role within the monarchy evolved once again, and the woman who had once stood at the center of controversy became a central figure supporting the new king. The ring that had once raised eyebrows now represented something different, a symbol of endurance, reconciliation, and the gradual transformation of public opinion that in many ways. The story behind Camilla's engagement ring reflects the broader history of the modern British monarchy. It reveals how symbols, traditions, and personal relationships can intertwine in ways that capture the attention of the world. What began as a simple piece of jewelry soon became part of a narrative about legacy, acceptance, and the ability of institutions to adapt over time. And so the ring that once sparked debate ultimately found its place in royal history, not merely as a sparkling heirloom, but as a reminder that behind every royal tradition lies a human story, one shaped by emotion, controversy, forgiveness, and the passage of time. As time passed after the engagement announcement, the conversation surrounding Prince Charles and Camilla Parker Bowles slowly began to shift. At first, the engagement ring had captured attention largely because of its connection to the past and the questions it raised about the monarchy's future. But as the public watched the couple move forward together, the focus gradually expanded beyond the jewelry itself and toward what their partnership would mean for the royal family in the years ahead. For decades, the relationship between Charles and Camilla had been surrounded by intense public interest. Their story stretched back to the early 1970s, long before Charles married Princess Diana. Although their paths separated for a time, the bond between them never completely disappeared. When their relationship eventually became public knowledge years later, it sparked enormous controversy, particularly during the difficult period surrounding the breakdown of Charles and Diana's marriage. Because of this complicated history, the announcement of their engagement carried emotional weight for many people who had followed the royal family closely. Within that context, the engagement ring became a powerful symbol. Having once belonged to Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, the piece represented a connection to one of the most respected figures in royal history. The Queen Mother had been admired for her calm strength during the Second World War and her lifelong dedication to the monarchy. By giving Camilla this ring, Charles appeared to be linking her future role to a legacy of resilience and service that had long defined the royal institution. Royal historians often pointed out that heirloom jewelry plays an important role in the way the monarchy communicates tradition. Unlike ordinary engagement rings purchased from modern jewelers, royal rings frequently carry stories that stretch across generations. Each piece becomes a kind of historical artifact, worn by different members of the family as time passes. In this sense, the ring Charles chose was not simply a personal gift. It was a piece of royal history placed on Camilla's hand at a moment when the monarchy itself was evolving. As the years unfolded, the couple worked steadily to redefine their public image. Rather than addressing past controversies directly, they focused on fulfilling their duties and supporting various charitable causes. Camilla, in particular, began dedicating much of her time to organizations focused on literacy, domestic violence awareness, and supporting survivors of abuse. Through these efforts, she gradually built a reputation as a thoughtful advocate who preferred meaningful work over public attention. During official events, the presence of the engagement ring remained a subtle reminder of the journey she had taken into royal life. Photographs from state visits, charity events, and ceremonial occasions frequently captured the distinctive diamond piece, which had once sparked so much curiosity. Over time, however, the ring became less of a controversy and more of a quiet symbol of stability within the royal family. The changing perception of Camilla reflected a broader shift in how the monarchy was adapting to modern expectations. The royal family had faced significant challenges in the late 20th century, including public criticism and growing debates about its role in contemporary society. By the early 2000s, there was a clear need to rebuild trust and present a more unified image. The marriage between Charles and Camilla became part of that effort, demonstrating that the institution could acknowledge its complicated past while moving forward. Another significant moment arrived years later when Prince William proposed to Catherine, Princess of Wales, using the sapphire ring that had once belonged to Diana. That engagement once again reminded the world how deeply royal jewelry can resonate with public emotions. In comparison, Camilla's ring represented a different kind of legacy, one tied not to memory and tribute but to continuity and acceptance within the royal household. By the time Charles eventually became King Charles III, the role Camilla played within the monarchy had become far clearer. The woman who had once been at the center of intense debate had gradually transformed into a steady presence beside the new king. Public opinion had softened considerably, and many observers now viewed her as a supportive partner who helped Charles navigate the responsibilities of leadership. Looking back, the fascination with Camilla's engagement ring reveals just how much symbolism exists within royal traditions. What might appear to be a simple piece of jewelry can carry layers of historical meaning, emotional significance, and public interpretation. The ring once worn by the Queen Mother had traveled through decades of royal history before finding its way to Camilla's hand, linking multiple generations of the monarchy together. In the end, the ring that once raised eyebrows came to represent something far deeper than a moment of controversy. It became part of a larger narrative about resilience, reconciliation, and the evolving nature of royal life. For historians and royal watchers alike, it stands as a reminder that even the smallest details within the monarchy can reflect profound stories about tradition, change, and the enduring fascination the world holds for the British royal family. As public interest in Prince Charles and Camilla Parker Bowles grew in the years following their engagement, the conversation surrounding Camilla's ring evolved from curiosity to a broader reflection on symbolism, tradition, and public perception. Initially, much of the attention focused on the ring's provenance, its connection to Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, and how it appeared to position Camilla within a historical royal narrative. However, over time, observers began to recognize that the ring also represented a turning point in how the royal family approached modern scrutiny, relationships, and the public's evolving expectations of monarchy. During the months and years immediately following the engagement announcement, royal commentators analyzed every detail of Camilla's choice, or rather, the choice made by Charles, highlighting the significance of linking her to the Queen Mother's legacy. To many, it was a gesture meant to underscore continuity, signaling that Camilla was now part of a lineage defined by steadfastness, public service, and commitment to duty. Critics and supporters alike debated the implications. Was the ring intended to honor tradition, to legitimize a controversial union, or perhaps both? Public opinion regarding Camilla's integration into the royal family remained cautious at first. The shadow of Princess Diana loomed large over the narrative. Diana's global popularity, her tragic death, and the media's continued fascination with her life made every move by Charles and Camilla highly scrutinized. Comparisons between Diana's iconic sapphire engagement ring and Camilla's heirloom piece were inevitable, and for some, the two rings symbolized vastly different chapters in the monarchy's story, one marked by youthful romance and public adoration, the other by reconciliation, maturity, and tradition. Despite early criticism, Camilla gradually worked to carve out her own identity within the royal framework. Her efforts to support charitable initiatives, ranging from literacy programs to advocacy for survivors of domestic abuse, helped reshape public perception. Unlike moments of celebrity spectacle, her contributions often remained understated, focused on long-term impact rather than media attention. Over time, these efforts helped transform the narrative from controversy to respectability, demonstrating that her role extended far beyond the symbolism of jewelry or lineage. The engagement ring itself became a subtle yet persistent symbol of this transition. While initially it had drawn attention for its historical provenance and association with the Queen Mother, the piece eventually came to represent the union's legitimacy, the blending of past and present, and Camilla's integration into the royal family's public image. Every time it appeared in photograph during public events, ceremonies, and official visits, it served as a quiet reminder of the journey both she and